said to bold Hector, "Hector, why do you always have to tell me off in the assembly? You know, I'm a pretty awesome speaker." I mean, it's like you think that a common man is only supposed to big you up in the assembly or in battle. But I'm going to say what I think is best. I don't think that we should go and fight the Danaans beside their ships. Not if this bird sign that we just saw was true, when an eagle came high up on the left side of the people and it was carrying a bloody snake in its huge talons, and the snake was still alive, and that eagle was not able to make it home with the snake. It was not able to give that snake to its kids. Well, I think that's going to be like for us. That even if with our great strength we are able to make it through the Achaean walls and to their ships, well, we're not going to make it back the same way, not in good order, no. We're going to leave behind many Trojans who the Achaeans are going to kill defending their ships. Anyway, that's what a prophet would say. Somebody who really understands signs from the gods. Someone who the people actually listen to. That's what he said. And Hector, from underneath his eyebrows, glared at Polydamas and said, "Polydamas, I really don't like what you're saying anymore. I mean, you've got to have something better to say than this, right? I mean, if the gods have really made you brain dead, if you are seriously saying this, now you think that I should put my trust in birds that stretch out their wings rather than Zeus? Zeus, the thunderer, Zeus who promised me, who gave me the nod, the go-ahead? I don't really care about birds. I don't care when they fly on the left to the sun and to the dawn. I don't really care when they fly on the right. They go to the gloomy darkness. We have faith in Zeus. I mean, he's the one who rules over all of the gods, all of the mortal men. Birds. I mean, the one bird sign that's best is to defend your country. Polydamas, why are you so scared of battle and of war? I think that even if all of us Trojans went and died beside the Achaean ships, well, we wouldn't have to worry about you, would we? Because your heart has no courage, your heart has no taste for war. But if I see you holding back, if I hear you trying to turn anyone else with your words away from battle, well, then you will die, struck down by my spear. That's what Hector said. And he rushed forward, and all of the Trojans now, they rushed with him. And Zeus, he sent down winds from the peaks of the mountains, and a huge dust cloud to maze the Achaeans. And now the Trojans went forward wanting to break down the Achaean wall. Now they tore at the battlements. Now they kicked at the foundation stones, the ones that the Achaeans had put down as strong foundations for the walls. Now they tore at the copings of the parapets. Yeah, that's right. 'Cause you all know what that shit is. But the Achaeans came quickly, and they threw their oxhide shields in the gaps, and they threw down rocks on the heads of their enemies as they attacked the walls. And the Ajaxes, the two Ajaxes, they marched back and forth along the army, stirring up the men, stirring up their battle fury. And Ajax said, and his words flew, "Friends, so in battle, one guy is awesome, one guy's average, one guy not so hot. We're not all the same on the battlefield, but look, now this work here, this work is the same for all of us, and I hope that you can recognize that. I don't want to see any of you now turning back and running towards the hollow ships. Now I want you all to rush forward always, attacking. And if Zeus grants it to us to push our enemies away from our ships, then we might even make it to the city. That's what the Ajax has said, stirring up all of the battle fury of each man. And now the Achaeans were rushing, but it was like snow. Trust me. On a winter's day when Zeus, he sends a blizzard, and the winter snow, when he quiets the winds and puts them to sleep, it covers everything. It covers every peak of the mountains, and it covers every headland and promontory, every lotus blossoming field, every rich work of man, even the gray sea and the deep harbors, and then the waves that strike one after another on the beach. Stop, because Zeus, he has blanketed everything in snow. He wants to show off what he can throw at us. That's now how the stones fell. Everywhere along the wall, some on the Trojans, some from the Trojans against the Achaeans, and everywhere along the battlements a huge sound arose. But the Trojans and shining Hector now, they would not have broken through the wall, except that the genius Zeus sent his strong son Sarpedon forward now. Sarpedon, like a lion onto cattle with curved horns. Sarpedon, he came forward. He had his huge, perfectly round shield. This is a round shield that's beaten around on the outside with bronze. A bronze smith makes it and puts many layers of hides on the inside, and then in a perfect circle all the way around stitches it with gold wire. This is the shield that Diomedes rushes forward with. And he also is carrying 2 spears. I don't know how he holds it all, but he's got a system. And now, like some lion, like a lion that is raised up in the mountains and hasn't had any flesh in its belly for days. So now its manly heart compels it, because lions have manly hearts, compels it to go against a well-built sheep pen, even though when it finds inside the sheep pen are a bunch of guys with spears and dogs guarding their flocks. But you know, the lion can't even imagine having to turn around without trying. Now, the lion is compelled either to grab one of those sheep jumping in or to get hit straight on by a spear from a fast hand. That's now how Sarpedon was ready to dive into battle. But first, he called out to Hippolochus's kid, Glaucus. Glaucus, why is it that you and I are honored so much among the Lycians? We get the best seats, we get the best cuts of meat, we get the full cups of wine, we got that sweet piece of land by the river Santos. That's where it's full of beautiful vineyards and the wheat-bearing fields. That's why we always have to stand in the front lines. That's why we have to throw ourselves into fiery battle. So that any one of the Lycians, once he puts on his armor, he can look at us and say, hey, those kings of ours, those marshals, they're not so bad, are they? They're not inglorious, but they are strong and awesome, and that's why they eat all the good meat, and that's why they drink all the sweet wine, because they fight in the front lines always for Lycia. Oh, Pepon. If you and I, if we could run away from this war and live somewhere without ever aging, without ever dying, I wouldn't go into the front lines. I wouldn't ask you to either. But now the spirits of death are all around us. Tens of thousands of them they stand, and there is not a single mortal that has ever avoided them or escaped them yet. So I say, let's go do something worth bragging about. Or give somebody else something to brag about. That's what Sarpedon said, and Glaucus did not turn away and did not disobey him. And now all of the Lycians came and followed their two lords against the wall. And Menesthius, the son of Petius, when he saw these Lycian lords coming, well, he had a little shudder, because they were bringing some real bad shit to his spot of the wall. So right away, he was looking all up and down the wall to see if he could see some other leaders that might come over and defend his companions. And he saw the two Ajaxes. They were taking a stand. They are insatiable when it comes to war. And he saw Teucer, too. He was nearby. He was just coming out of his tent. But of course, there's so much noise all the time. He can't just shout over to them. No, the noise that comes up, you know, it's from shield on shield, spear against spear, and the gates. Oh, the gates. There are so many people trying to make it inside the gates. So he's got to send a messenger. He calls Thoetes over and says, so Thoetes, brilliant Thoetes, run now and call Ajax. Get both of them, really. I mean, that would be the best thing, because sheer destruction is coming here right now, the bad shit. But, you know, these two Lycian lords, I've seen them before, and they are furious. They were raging in battle before, and now they are coming right towards us. So please, go. And if there's too much work and too much battle over where they are, then at least send brave Telamonian Ajax, the big one, and Teucer, too, right? Because he really knows how to shoot a bow and arrow. So that's what Menesthius said. And Thoetes, he made his way running inside the walls of the bronze-clad Achaeans, and he made it to the Ajaxes, and he stood there, and he was like, so, Ajaxes, yeah, Menesthius, well, he's the shining son of Petius. He wants you to come over right where he is, right now, because there's some bad shit going down, and if both of you could come, that would be the best thing ever. Because right now there are these two Lycian lords, and they were the same ones that were raging in battle forever before. And if there's too much work and too much battle over here, well, at least send Telamonian Ajax, big Telamonian Ajax, and Teucer too, because he really knows how to shoot a bow and arrow. And Telamonian Ajax, he answered right away, saying to Oilean Ajax, Oilean Ajax, you stay here with powerful Lycomedes. I'm going to go over there and fight. And then I'm going to come back here when I've defended them well. That's what he said. And he stirred them up to defend the Lycians. And then he went, Telamonian Ajax, right away. And Teucer came along with him. Teucer, who was his brother. Remember, they have the same father. Teucer's a bastard son, yeah. Telamon's bastard son. And, oh, look, Pandion's coming too. He's the third guy. He's carrying Teucer's curved bow. I don't know why. Sarpedon needs to give him carrying lessons. So now all three of them go. They come to where the Lycian lords here are attacking the gate all around Menesthius, the son of Petius, like a dark whirlwind. That's right. And they stake their stand against them, and it's Ajax, big Telamonian Ajax. He's the first to kill a man. He kills one of Sarpedon's buddies, this guy Epicles. Ajax, he grabs a rock that just happens to be laying high up on the wall. Now this rock is huge. A guy today, two guys who were in the prime of their youth, they couldn't pick it up, but Ajax is just like, hey. And then he throws it at Epicles, who's standing high up on the wall, and, well, it completely crushes his bronze horned helmet, and it completely pulverizes the skull and all of the brains inside. So that Epicles, he just falls off the top of the tower like a diver, and the life left his bones. Then Teucer hits Glaucus, Polycus's kid. Glaucus is running along the top of the walls, but just part of his arm shows to Teucer, and Teucer gets him with an arrow, though, stops his battle lust. And Glaucus, well, you know, he doesn't want the Achaeans to see him, but so he tries to run away off the wall in secret. He doesn't want to give them something to brag about. And Sarpedon, there's a great grief that comes onto Sarpedon when he sees Glaucus leave the field. But Sarpedon is not going to stop fighting. Sarpedon, right away, he stabs through Thestor's son, Alcman. And then he pulls the spear right out. And now Sarpedon runs over to the battlements, and he takes it in his strong hands and starts to rip it down, tearing it, making a path for many. But Hector, no, I always do that, but Ajax and Teucer, now they attack him both at the same time. Teucer first. Teucer shoots Sarpedon with one of his arrows right in the shield strap that's holding his huge man-covering shield on. But Zeus is not about to let Sarpedon, no. He defends his kid from the spirit of death. And then Ajax comes and stabs him straight through the shield, but doesn't go through. Nope. Sarpedon, he just has to give way a little bit. And that's when he calls out to all the rest of the Lycians and says, "Hey, Lycians, time to stand fast. As awesome as I am, it's pretty hard for me to tear down the wall by myself. So why don't you all come with me, because more is better." And the Lycians, they felt terrible. They didn't want to be told off by their leader. So all of them pressed on hard behind the council-bearing leader of the Lycians, Sarpedon, and they rushed forward. And on the other side, the Achaeans, they strengthened their ranks. So now the strong Lycians, they could not break through the Danaan wall. And what's that clause? Anyway, it's sad. What?
2 men who measure the boundary.
No, that's not what I want. I actually want the little clause that I keep forgetting. It's okay. It's okay. I don't know what the clause is either. I know. It makes me sad when I forget a clause. The strong Lycians, they could not break down the Danaan wall. Nope, still not there. And neither could the Danaan spear fighters push the Lycians away from their wall once they had arrived there. So now the battle was held. It was like when there are two guys and there's a boundary between their lands in a common field, and they're arguing over it. So they're out there with their measuring sticks. And it's just like a little tiny piece of land, but they're like trying to divide it equally. That's how the battle was now on both sides. And many people were stabbed in the flesh. Many of them while they turned and exposed some part of their body. And many of them were stabbed, though, straight through their shields. So that the whole battlements now were red with blood from both sides, from the Argives and from the Trojans. Now the battle was stretched so even. It was like when there's a woman who sells wool, and she has a perfect scale, and she is so meticulous about putting the wool on the scale to weigh it out so that she can make just a little bit of money for her kids. That's how the battle was balanced. Until Zeus wanted to give the glory to Hector, the son of Priam, who was the first to break through the Achaean wall. Now Hector, he turned towards all of the Trojans with a piercing cry, "Trojans, Lycians, Dardanian spear fighters, let's break down this wall and let's set these ships on fire." That's what he said. And the Trojans, they all rushed forward en masse. And Hector, well, Hector found a rock lying on the ground. Now, this rock was huge. 2 men today with levers couldn't lift this rock from the ground and put it into a wagon. But Hector, he just lifted it right up. Zeus, the son of crooked-minded Kronos, just made it light for him. And so he carried it like it was nothing. He carried it like a shepherd. You know, when a shepherd just picks up a little bit of ram's wool and carries it like it doesn't weigh anything, that's how Hector carried this as he went towards the gates. Now, the gates are 2 layers of heavy wood and 2 heavy bolts that go along the inside and actually cross one another, and 1 key that locks them all. And now Hector, he got ready, running towards the gates, and he threw with all of his strength. And the weight of the rock just made it fall right on into the inside. And now the gates groaned, and the bolts, they gave way, and the doors themselves just splintered everywhere, willy-nilly. And Hector, he jumped through. Now his face flashed like dark night. Now his bronze glimpsed, shining in all directions as he carried his 2 spears. Now only a god could have come against Hector as he went inside the walls. And his eyes flashed like fire. And he called out to all the Trojans now to come through the Achaean walls. And some of them went over the walls, and some of them went through the smashed gates. And the Danaans, well, the Greeks ran for their lives back towards the hollow ships, and all hell broke loose. And Zeus, well, Zeus left Hector and the Trojans to the war work and the misery, and he decided that now he really wanted to check out what was going on in the land of the Thracians. They raise horses. And the Mysians, you know, they fight at close quarters. There's also the noble Hippomolgians. They're milk eaters. And then the Abians who are the most just of all men. Now Zeus, he turned his eyes towards those lands and did not put his shining eyes anymore on Priam's city. He didn't think that any one of the gods would go down from Mount Olympus as a helper, not for the Argives, not for the Trojans, no. But the earth-encircling earth shaker Poseidon, he was not watching with a blind eye. He was up on the wooded mount of Thracian Samos, and from there, all of Mount Ida appeared, and all of Priam's city, and all of the Achaean ships, and he saw the Achaeans being beaten down by the Trojans, and he pitied them. So right away, quickly, he darted down from the high peak where he sat, where he had come out of the depths of the sea to sit and watch. Now his fast divine feet carried him, and as he went, as the god went, the woods and the mountains all shook. He took 3 steps. He's fucking huge. And then the 4th, and he was at Aigai. At Aigai, where in the deep harbor they had built his beautiful golden house that would never waste away. And it was there that he got his chariot ready with the bronze-shod horses. They were fast-footed and had long golden manes. And then Poseidon, well, he put on his gold clothes. He's ready. And he picks up the well-made golden whip, and he gets into the chariot, and he drives the chariot through the waves. And all of the little sea creatures, they come out from every direction from their hidey holes, and they skip and play in Poseidon's path as they recognize their lord. And even the sea itself delights when it sees Poseidon and separates in front of him, so that his brazen axles beneath him don't even get wet as his fast-springing horses carry him towards the Achaean ships. And then he comes, well, there's a deep harbor. It's right between Tenedos and Imbrios, and that's where there's a cave. That's where he decides to park the horses. And he lets them free from the chariot, and he puts them in weird gold shackles, which I'm not sure why. That seems a little cruel to me. But they're unbreakable and unloosenable, and they will keep the horses from going home without their lord, so I guess that's good. And then Poseidon, he goes to the army of the Achaeans. Meanwhile, the Trojans, they fight on like fire all around Hector, who is like a hurricane now. They want to fight beside the Achaean ships and kill all of the best men. So Poseidon, he goes straight over to the 2 Ajaxes who are eager enough on their own to fight. And he says to them, in the shape of Calchas, who is a bird seer, and even taking on his tireless voice, Ajaxes, now you have to save us, the Achaean people. Remember your furious courage. Forget cold fear. I am not scared about any other section of the wall. Everywhere else there are powerful people there that can defend it. But here I am terrified, because here the Trojans are led by that madman, a man who fights like fire, that man Hector. And so put this idea in your head as though a god put it there. That even if Hector is driven on by Zeus himself, you have to turn this man back. You have to stop his onrush and keep him off our ships. That's what he said, and he took his scepter and he hit the chests of each one of the Ajaxes, putting strong battle fury into them, making their limbs strong and ready, making their hands and feet light. Now they were ready to fight. And Poseidon, then almost like a hawk, like a fast-winged hawk that flies when it drives down from the jagged cliff face over the plain, catching another bird, that's how fast Poseidon left them. And Oilean Ajax, as he went, said to the other Ajax, Ajax, I think that might have been one of the Olympians talking to us. I don't think it was Calchas the bird seer at all. He he's the one who ordered us to fight by the ships. I think it was a god. I recognized his strong shins and calves. Gods are very recognizable that way. And you know, I just feel so ready to fight now. And my limbs all feel awesome. And my feet and my hands are so ready. And Telamonian Ajax was like, Ajax, I also feel so ready to fight now. The hands that are around my 2 spears feel so strong. And my feet, they're ready for me to rush. Let's go! So the 2 of them were talking like this. They were both so delighted with the battle fury that the gods had put inside their chest. And now all of the Achaeans rushed with them forward around the 2 Ajaxes. But Poseidon, he went back towards the ships of the Achaeans. That's where many of the Achaeans had stopped to try to get a breather. Their limbs were completely worn out with savage fatigue, and they saw the Trojans just pouring through the Achaean wall. And when they saw the Trojans doing that, the tears came out from underneath their brows. But Poseidon was able to stir them up quickly enough. First, he went and ordered all of the leaders. There was Teucer and Leitus and Peneleus the hero and Thoas and Deipyrus and Meriones and Antilochus. He's master of the war cry. To all of these now Poseidon spoke. Shame, young men. I thought that you were going to be the one that would save our ships. But now if you hold back, now I think it is today that we will be beaten down by the Trojans. Oh, Popoi, what is this thing that I see? Something terrible, something I thought I would never see. That the Trojans, who before were like frightened deer running through the woods in front of a panther or in front of a wolf, that now they fight beside our ships. Before they wouldn't even come out of their city. It's because our leader holds back. And it's because those others who are in conflict with our leader, they hold back. They don't want to defend the ships. They want us all to die. In truth, I blame wide-ruling Agamemnon, the son of Atreus, that he dishonored the fast-running son of Peleus, Achilles. But we don't have the option of holding back. Hopefully, they'll sort their shit out. Excellent men sort their shit, right? But now you don't hold back. You are the best men of our army. I would not fight with a man who was holding back because he was weak. But you I will resent. Now is the time for you to fight in your furious courage, because now the real battle has begun. Now Hector, huge Hector, he has broken through our walls and through our bolted gates, and now he fights beside our ships. That's what he said. And right away he stirred up the hearts and the battle fury of each man. Now all of the Achaeans, they gathered around the 2 strong Ajaxes, and they began to put themselves in order. The Ajaxes who would never be reproached by either Ares Or Athena, who saves the people, my favorite clause. Now they put themselves in a tight, close phalanx. So now spear hit against spear, and the shields overlapped all the way from the foundation, so that I wish I had another good word for shield, but shield went over shield. Now helmet hit helmet, and shoulder hit shoulder, as the men were so close that even the nodding horse plumes from the top of their helmets touched one another. And now in this kind of tight-knit phalanx, now the men went forward. Now they only thought straight on of fighting. And it was against this that the Trojans came en masse, and Hector led them. Hector now, he was like a rolling stone, for real. He was like a rolling stone that came out of the top of a cliff face in a winter storm when a swollen river wrests that rock from its resting place and drags that rock through the woods, and the rock is rolling and rolling and rolling until it comes to an open, flat plain, and finally it stops. That's how Hector was. He threatened to make it all the way through the ships and the tents, all the way to the sea. But then he was stopped when he hit the close-knit phalanx of the Achaeans. And now all of the Achaeans were stabbing at his huge shield with their spears and their swords. And Hector, he had to give way a little bit. Hector now called with a piercing cry to all the Trojans and all of their allies, "Trojans, Lycians, Dardanian allies, stand fast!" Because now, even with these Achaeans making a wall in front of me, I don't think they're going to hold out long. No, not against my spear. Not if Zeus, the thunderer, the husband of Hera, sends me on like I think he does. That's what he said. And he stirred up all of the Trojans' battle fury. And now it was Deiphobus that came out. Deiphobus with his huge shield carried out in front of him as he rushed forward in the front lines. But Meriones saw Deiphobus rushing forward. And so right away, he came and he stabbed Deiphobus straight through the shield. But he didn't hit him. Nope. It got stuck in the shield, and it broke at the stem. And Deiphobus, who had been running with his shield to protect him, well, he just held his shield really far out from his body and was like, ooh, quite scared of Meriones' spear that had almost hit him. But Meriones was pissed. He was pissed for two reasons. First, because he didn't win. And second, because he had to go get another spear. So first he darts back into the crowd of his companions, but then he's got to go all the way back to his tent. Meanwhile, everyone else fights on. Now it's Teucer, the son of Telamon. He stabs Imbrios. Imbrios used to live in Pedasos before the sons of the Achaeans came. He lived in Pedasos, and he married one of Priam's bastard daughters, a girl called Metesicaste. And then when the Achaeans arrived in their oar-swept ships, well, then he moved to Troy. And there he became preeminent among all of the people, and he lived with Priam, and Priam honored him as much as any of his children. And now Teucer stabbed him with his bronze spear straight through the ear. And so Imbrios, he fell like an ash tree. Like an ash tree that lives up on the glittering crest of a mountain, but someone comes and cuts it down with a bronze axe so that all of its delicate foliage scatters across the earth. That's how Imbrios fell, and his armor that was intricate with bronze, it clattered all around him with an awesome ringtone. And right away, Teucer ran, rushing forward to strip that armor. And as Teucer ran rushing, Hector saw him, and Hector rushed at him too, throwing his spear at Teucer. But Teucer kept his eyes straight on Hector right away and was able to avoid the spear. But it hit Amphimachus. Amphimachus, who is the son of Tactus, who's the son of Actor, but he's also maybe grandson of Poseidon, we'll see. Amphimachus was rushing to the front lines, and he took the spear in his chest. And now Hector rushed over to Amphimachus to strip him of his armor, to try to hold that helmet, the bronze helmet that was fitted so well around his temples, and pull it off. But now the Ajaxes came. The Ajaxes came close to him, stabbing at Hector and his huge shield with their spears and with their swords, and Hector had to give way a little bit. So now Stichios and Menesthius, the two leaders of the Athenians, they took the body of Amphimachus and took it back to the Achaean people. And then the two Ajaxes, they got the body of Imbrios. I know, but is it Imbrios' body? They got the body of Imbrios. Now they were like two lions that grab a goat away from a pack of dogs, and they carry it away out of the underbrush, dripping from their jaws. That's how Ajaxes now took the body of Imbrios. And Oilean Ajax was so upset, pissed off about the death of Amphimachus, that he decided to hack Imbrios' head off with his sword right at the soft neck, and he took the head and he threw it through the crowd, whirling like a ball until it landed in the dust right at the feet of Hector. Poseidon was also pissed off about his grandson's death, Amphimachus. So Poseidon, he ran now back to the ships of the Achaeans and their tents to rally them once again. And as he went, he ran into Idomeneus, glorious Idomeneus, the leader of the Cretans. Now, Idomeneus just happened to have brought a buddy back towards the tents because one of his guys, he got hit with an arrow behind the knee, so Idomeneus helped him out, took him to the tent, gave the doctors the instructions, left him there because Idomeneus wants to keep fighting. So Idomeneus is heading back to battle, and he runs into Poseidon. Now Poseidon, he makes himself look like Thoas, who's the son of Andrymon. He's the one who rules over High, Pleuron, and Calydon, all of the Aetolians. He's the lord over them, and they honor him like a god. So now, like Thoas, Poseidon says to Idomeneus, Idomeneus, you lord council bearer of the Cretans. So where did all those Achaean threats go? Those threats for the Trojans? And Idomeneus answers him, the lord of the Cretans. He's like, Thoas, you know, I don't think it's like any one man's fault. All this. You know, it's, we all know how to fight, and it's not because of some fear or some hesitation that we're holding back now. That's not what's happening. What's happening here is I think that the son of Kronos just wants the Achaeans to die. He wants us to die far from Argos, unnamed. So Thoas, what you should do is just keep being steadfast in battle and your awesome self, like before. And if you see anyone holding back, well, tell them off. And make sure you give orders to each man to keep his strength and to hold fast. And Poseidon answered him and said, Idomeneus, if I catch anybody holding back, they're not going to make it home from Troy. I'm going to leave them like a chew toy for the Trojan dogs. But I think you should go now and arm quickly, because the two of us, we could have an advantage. I mean, even when men who can't fight worth shit fight together, they're better, right? And the two of us, we really know how to fight. That's what he said, and right away, Poseidon, he dove right back into the work of war. And Idomeneus ran back to his tent, and he put on his armor. Where was his armor before? He put on his beautiful armor, and he grabbed his spears, and he ran out again. He's eager to fight, and he just happens to run into Meriones, because Meriones is coming back because he broke his spear, so he's got to get a new one. And so Idomeneus, the lord of the Cretans, he says to him, Meriones, son of Molos, you're my best friend. Why are you coming out of battle right now? Are you hurt? Like, did you get hit? Do you just have a message for me? Because I don't really want to hang out by the ships. I really want to get back and fight. And Meriones, he's a smart guy. He answers him and says, Idomeneus, counsel bearer of the bronze-clad Cretans. Yeah, I broke my spear. Broke my spear in that super manly Deiphobus' shield, so I got to get another one from my tent. And Idomeneus, the lord of the Cretans, he says, you know, I got like 21 spears in my tent. They're all Trojan spears that I got from dead guys. They're just like lined up along the sparkling walls. You know, I always fight close, right? I fight close. So that's why I've got a tent that's just full of spears and breastplates, glittering armor. That's what he said. And wise Meriones answered him. It was like, yeah, you know, I've got a lot of stuff in my tent too. A lot of Trojan stuff. But you know, my tent's really far away, so I can't get to it right now. But I don't ever forget my Russian courage. I love to stand in the front lines. I'm always the first to jump in when conflict arises. So, you know, why don't you go tell some other of the Achaeans to come and question my courage, since you're supposed to know me? And Idomeneus, the lord of the Cretans, answered, yeah, you're awesome. So why are you talking about it? Okay, look. If we all had to gather all of the best of us Achaeans by our ships, because we were getting ready for an ambush, and an ambush, that kind of spy mission, that is the thing that most shows who's a coward and who's a brave man. Because the coward, well, the coward, his skin turns all kinds of colors. And his mind is racing, and he just shifts back and forth from foot to foot, and his heart's pounding in his chest, and his teeth are chattering. But the brave man, well, the brave man, his skin doesn't change at all. The brave man, he stands and he goes and takes up his station with pride, and he prays to be the first one to get to fight. And that's where I really respect your battle fury and your hands. You know, I think sometimes if you ever got hit in battle, I know it wouldn't be in the back of the neck or in the back. You would take it in the gut or in the chest as you rushed forward. But, you know, we should stop talking like this here. Some asshole's going to see us and he's going to resent us. Let's go. Get a spear from inside the tent. That's what he said. And right away, Meriones, as fast as the war god, went inside the tent and he brought out a spear. And now Idomeneus, he went forward. He went forward like man slaughtering Ares goes forward into war. Like man slaughtering Ares when he's accompanied by his dear son fear. Fear who never wears out. Fear who is all powerful, who can terrify even the most seasoned warrior. And these two, they go just like when they go from Thrace, either to Ephyrae or to the Phlegians. And they don't listen. They don't care who's praying to them. They just give the glory to whoever. That's now how Meriones and Idomeneus went back into battle in all of their armor, flashing in their bronze. Thank you, everyone, so much for coming. As always, we want to thank Amit and Bardepin. Alex Martalogu, my awesomeness. Sam Windholz, videographer. And this week's director, Tania dos Santos. And come back next week for Jackie Vandekeer. Have a great week, everybody.